2 weeks ago, turns out hackers were able to easily steal our personal data from both Apple and Facebook, also known as Meta, by impersonating law enforcement. So it's a pretty effective strategy since law enforcement and private businesses have many ways they can extract our data to begin with. But here's how the hackers stole our data from Apple and Facebook. Apple and Meta provided basic subscriber details such as a customer's address, phone number, and IP address in mid-2021 in response to forged emergency data requests. Normally, such requests are only provided with a search warrant or subpoena signed by a judge. However, the emergency requests do not require a court order. So if you are a private company and someone is reaching out to you saying that they're law enforcement and they have an emergency request for data, how do you know that the person is actually from law enforcement? What kind of oversight is provided? Do these companies have a strategy in place, protocols in place to protect our privacy and our data? And it's unsurprising to me, Waz, that doesn't seem like they do. And the hackers were successful in their quest to secure our data by posing as cops. We have other details, but I'm curious what you think.
Immediately what I thought was, I think Apple should be more worried about this because they made a decision years ago that they would be the tech company that was taking quote unquote privacy seriously. And for them to have this level of breach is a bad look for them. Of course, Facebook, they've made a killing on selling and distributing all of our information piecemeal. That's the business model of Facebook for years now. So we shouldn't be surprised that they were very laxed about giving our data away. That's what they're already in the business of. But what I will say, Anna, is I wonder how much people really care. I think people have made the decision in bartering their privacy for convenience. It just seems like, and I'm guilty of it too. I see all these cookies things pop up all over the net. I'm like, yeah, accept, yeah, get me to my website. Thank you.
I mean, I don't know. It's your right to not care. You should care more though. And look, I think it's different. It's probably a little different for guys, right? I mean, so I'm notoriously protective of my phone number because I've had to change it a million times. So what I dealt with about 2 years ago was someone who was relentlessly trying to hack into my accounts. And what they were able to do was somehow, maybe through like the black market, because our data gets stolen regularly. They were able to get my password for eBay, which I hadn't logged on to forever. It had been a very, very long time. They got the customer service person through chat to give them my phone number. And they posed as me. And they're like, oh, well, to confirm your identity, can you let us know what your address is? And our address, everyone's address is public information. It's sold by data brokers. So if that's their security protocol to ensure that they're confirming identity, it's a pretty crappy protocol because anyone has access. It's public information, our addresses and all of that stuff. So as soon as that person was able to get my phone number, they were able to use it to unlock other accounts. And so it's a huge issue because, of course, like your identity could be stolen if you're a private citizen, if you're a public person, especially if you deal with the kind of subject matter that we deal with, Waz. People are gonna come after you for other nefarious reasons as well. So that's what that was something that really concerned me. And how do data brokers get our personal information? It's through the cookies, it's through us buying things online. When we enter our personal information to make that transaction, that data is collected and it's sold to third parties. So it's just been, it's a disaster. And really we have no protections because we have lawmakers who are like approximately 120 years old and don't really care. They just don't care. They don't understand it, they don't care about it.
Yeah, and I think once we basically passed the Patriot Act because Al Qaeda was gonna come and kill us and our babies in our sleep, I feel like the government apparatus has been all about data collection as well. They're complicit in this privacy breach of American citizens, right? Back in the days, they used to pay the lip service of, oh, we're just doing it to foreigners. Don't worry, Americans are protected from this kind of spying. Now they've dropped all of those pretenses, and we know they're spying on us and collecting our data basically at all times. So, as much as our government traffics in all kinds of hypocrisy with data stealing and privacy breaches, they can't even put a good face on that because they know they're doing all of this stuff themselves.
Right, no, absolutely. Going back to what the hackers did, so apparently they forged requests, as I mentioned, they posed as law enforcement. The forged requests were made to appear legitimate. In some instances, the documents included the forged signatures of real or fictional law enforcement officers, according to two of the people. By compromising law enforcement email systems, the hackers may have found legitimate legal requests and used them as a template to create forgeries. And look, when you look at the sheer volume of requests that law enforcement makes of these various online platforms, you get a sense of how widespread this is and how easily they can obtain our data based on very thin allegations, right? Because they're supposed to have warrants, but if it's an emergency request, they could actually completely bypass the need for a court order or a warrant. And so if you look at Meta, for instance, Meta said that it received 21,700 emergency requests from January to June of 2021 globally, and provided some data in response to 77% of the requests. So the vast majority of the requests get fulfilled. Google also receives a lot of these requests to the tune of 39,000 for user information between July and December of 2020. Google handed over user info in response to more than 80% of those requests, affecting the accounts of more than 89,000 users. And look, that is one of the many ways that the government is able to pretty easily obtain our personal information. They do it by claiming that it's part of their investigation. It's an important part of what they do. Police can also issue a search warrant or a subpoena for your phone to physically search it. And if you have an Apple phone and you think, no worries, I've got a passcode, they're not gonna be able to access it. I mean, law enforcement agencies have already developed the technology necessary to break into your phone and even have the ability to read encrypted messages. And one of the other things that they do, which I wasn't aware about until today, is they do requests for data pertaining to specific keyword searches. So they will get, let's say, Google to hand over data on all the users who searched a specific word or phrase in a given time period. So even if you're not doing anything wrong and you happen to coincidentally Google a word or a phrase that the police are investigating, your personal information will be captured through that request for data from Google.
And it begs the question, Anna, with all of the digital surveillance tactics that are availed to Big Brother, why they had to put the chip in us with the vaccine. I don't understand why they needed to do that when they have all of these ways of tracking us and spying on us. It's crazy that they still managed to use Pfizer to, implant a chip in all of us.
So look, they're always looking for ways. They're innovative, okay, Waz? They don't get enough credit for how innovative they are. They're always looking for ways to be lazier. And installing that chip just, it cuts the middlemen. They don't want to have to deal with Meta. They don't want to have to deal with Google. Right? All right. Just in case anyone doesn't get the sarcasm, we're joking,
kidding, guys.
Yeah, we're totally kidding. I mean, who knows? YouTube took the video down already. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, so that's what's happening. And by the way, a lot of Americans are concerned about their privacy and their data being sold for profit. It's just that we unfortunately don't have lawmakers who really understand the issue. And if they do understand the issue, they're in the pocket of these Silicon Valley companies and are not going to pass legislation to ensure that our private information is secure. Especially if securing our data and our private information means that these companies would have to spend some of their money on bolstering whatever security measures they might have.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.